I'm currently playing through the entire Assassin's Creed series to see whether my long-held opinions of them still holds up today, or if I've grown and changed over the years and learned to appreciate them in a new light. It's unlikely that I'm that enlightened, and so far my old opinions still hold true, so I can confidently say that I have always been, and will always continue to be right. So, Assassin's Creed Revelations, more commonly known as, oh yeah, that one, is the fourth game in the Assassin's Creed series, as well as the final part of the Ezio Trilogy, bringing the story of Ezio Auditore da Firenze to a close. Except for that Embers short film, which I'll admit I'd forgotten about too, but that's not a game, so we don't count that one. Just a quick note from future me, well technically still past me, but it's me less in the past than the rest of this voiceover. I was literally putting the finishing touches on this video when I heard about a little thing called Assassin's Creed Lost Legacy. Ubisoft told us that there would not be a home console Assassin's Creed game released in 2011, but they did announce Lost Legacy for the 3DS. I won't go into the details here, but for some reason it was cancelled and repurposed into Revelations for the PS3 and Xbox 360. I thought I'd better mention that now, because throughout the video I make several comments about how this game feels a bit rushed, or it has weird and needless additions, and the previous existence of Lost Legacy kind of explains why these things are here. So with that out of the way, please enjoy or endure the rest of the video. I think the best way to describe my feelings on this game is to compare it to something completely different from a different medium. I feel that the Ezio Trilogy compares directly to the original Star Wars trilogy. The first installment is excellent and serves as an introduction to these characters and their world. The second takes those elements and runs with it, ending up with a superior product to the first. And finally, the third installment feels a little bit lackluster in comparison. Still worth your time and with some very memorable and important moments, but all of the best ideas have been done already. Parts of this game feel like they didn't really have any idea what to do with Ezio. They knew they needed a third game and were running out of ideas. To counter that though, parts of this game are some of the most memorable moments of the series for me. The game starts with Desmond in a coma being plugged back into the Animus. The bleeding effect is causing his brain a bit of stress, so he needs to find a sync nexus in his ancestors' memories in order for the Animus to separate the memories of Altair and Ezio from Desmond, thus allowing him to regain consciousness. This is all explained by the digital manifestations of Subject 16, the one who scrawled those symbols in blood in his cell in Abstergo. His body has long been destroyed, so his mind is stuck inside the Animus. That sync nexus bollocks is explained as reaching a point where your ancestor has nothing left to show you, which seems very abstract and open to interpretation. Luckily, Desmond reaches this point before Ezio becomes incontinent in his old age and spends his days complaining about how easy the youth of the day have it. Subject 16 feels wasted here as some sort of cynical guardian angel, considering there's been mystery built up around him for the last 3 games. At one point he seems to ask Desmond if he can share his body with him once his situation is sorted out. Desmond, quite fairly, isn't happy about that idea, and then it's dropped. I don't know what they could have done better with Subject 16, but I feel that the character deserves more than just being an exposition dump for the immediate situation. We don't learn anything new about Abstergo, the Animus, or the First Civilization. He's basically just the crestfallen warrior from Dark Souls. There are also side missions that you can unlock that will explain Desmond's backstory, about his childhood in the Assassin Order and how he ran away. I'm all for learning more about that side of his story, but it involves playing through first-person platforming gameplay. And we learned from Half-Life all the way back in 1998 that first-person platforming doesn't work. You also have to unlock these by collecting Animus blips in the historical setting, requiring 30 in total to unlock all of these memories. I gave up before I got 20 and I watched the last few missions on YouTube as I didn't feel they were worth the effort of scouring the map for them. These certainly were not as rewarding as the glyph puzzles from the last 2 games. But enough about Desmond. No one likes Desmond. We join Ezio in a pre-rendered cutscene that I'm fairly sure was also the pre-release trailer for the game, as he fights through Templar troops to reach the castle at Masyaf, which you may remember from the first game. Ezio has come to Masyaf in search of Altair's hidden library, and he sees the ghost of his ancestor as he fights through the Templar guards. Though it's never made clear whether Ezio knows that he's related to Altair. Not that I think it would change much, but just something I found myself wondering. Ezio finds the door to the library locked, requiring 5 keys, and he is told that the Templar captain he's just escaped from has a book containing clues to their whereabouts, and that the Templars have already found one of them. Ezio acquires this book, which leads him to Constantinople. He joins up with the local assassin franchise to help find the keys and the Templars, and offers to help them out with their problems while he's there. That said, they never really seem like they've been waiting for a video game protagonist to turn up and solve all their problems. They acknowledge that Templar agents have been increasing in the city in recent years, and they think the upcoming change of Sultan will be used by them to gain power, but the assassins are plentiful and seem like they're getting on okay. There really weren't many stakes from this side of the story, and any hardships they do suffer wouldn't have happened if Ezio wasn't poking around for those keys. Ezio also ends up tracking down the first Italian woman he saw when he first arrived in the city, and it turns out she loves a good book, so he teams up with her to help find the keys, even further reducing the point of the local assassins being involved. The keys are located at the end of several dungeons, which replace the Assassin's Tombs and Romulus Dens from the last games, except these are now required to complete the game. Luckily, these are just as good as in the previous games, though there are less of them, which is a shame, and you don't unlock any cool armor or weapons by completing them. Other than the scripted tutorial section at Masyaf, and a weird little town in a cave at the end of the game, Revelations takes place entirely within Constantinople. I had enjoyed my time exploring Rome and its surrounding countryside in Brotherhood, but I had so much more fun exploring Constantinople that it makes Rome look a bit rubbish in comparison. We can't ride horses anymore, but we don't need them because there are no wide open spaces. Instead, we get zip lines, their first use in the series, and the parachute that we had to complete most of Brotherhood to unlock is usable right from the start. This will sound so cliche that it hurts me just thinking about saying it, but compared to the previous games, Constantinople feels so much more alive and active. Other than the rooftops, I didn't find one area of the map where nothing was happening. There was always something to climb or zipline over. This is the first time in the series where I felt the urge to stop and look around the viewpoints myself, rather than just let the automated camera spin around me quickly. The graphics in these games has been improving with each release, and it really does show through the environments here. But when Assassin's Creed giveth, Assassin's Creed taketh away. There is so much less to do here than in Brotherhood, leaving us with not really any alternative to continuing the main story. I didn't even find any assassin contract missions, though the Romany missions were a replacement for this, with the Romany ladies replacing the courtesans from previous games. The renovation stuff returns, but there are far less shops to buy than in Brotherhood, which on one hand I welcomed because it cleared up my map a bit, but on the other hand, any shop I needed always seemed too far away. The fast travel system returns largely unchanged, except you don't need to purchase tunnel entrances before using them. And when selecting a destination, they now show your mission marker on the map. Only your mission marker though, not any custom markers you may have set. The Borgia Towers return, or I suppose Templar Towers is a better name for them, though there's only about 5 or 6 of them here, and they never really got difficult. Some of these gave me a bit of trouble in Brotherhood, but here I completed them all fairly quickly in my playthrough. Once again, liberating these towers allows you to recruit more assassins to call on during gameplay, and with this being introduced very early on meant that there was much more opportunity to play around with this feature than we got in Brotherhood. The whole thing about sending them on missions has also been expanded, but personally I think they added too much on this side, as there was barely any time during my playthrough to get through a significant amount of the missions on offer. I mentioned ziplines earlier, which Ezio is able to traverse through the use of his new hook blade. While having questionable penetrative qualities, just like your mom, the hook blade not only allows you to zip along lines, but also allows for faster climbing, catching ledges from further away, increasing your jump distance by swinging off those corner things, and we can also use it to flip over enemies trying to block our way, though I forgot about that feature immediately after the tutorial explaining it. I really enjoyed the hook blade and the features it opened up, and other than its odd aesthetic design, I don't know why it didn't stick around in the series for any longer. One new addition that I'm glad didn't stick around is bomb crafting. Clearly the devs were very proud of this because almost every treasure box is full of lamb's blood or Indian gunpowder, and there are crafting stations somehow scattered around tombs that have been sealed for centuries. You can now craft lethal, stun, and distraction bombs, and these can either be on a timer, impact, sticky, tripwire, or proximity. I used this feature once, experimented a bit, and then just stuck with either smoke bombs or impact grenades. I guess this is an early example of games adding needless crafting systems to it that no one asked for, and it's not something I'm a fan of. It's this sort of thing that's preventing me from playing more of Oddworld Soulstorm. As I suggested at the start of this video, this entry to the series is often forgotten about, but whenever people do remember it, they will likely remember two things. One of those is the tower defense missions, because apparently we were all craving some Plants vs Zombies gameplay in our parkour murderer simulator games. Luckily, you only have to do this once, and the game basically threatens you with them as a motivator for keeping your wanted level down. There are less ways of lowering your wanted level in this game, but I only maxed it out twice during my playthrough, and one of those was done as part of the story. So yes, this weird addition is odd and pretty dull to play, but you only have to do it once, and it doesn't take that much effort to avoid entirely after that. The other new addition is relating to those keys that Ezio is looking for. These keys look more like limited edition vinyl prints, and they contain the memories of our boy Altair, resulting in scenes that obviously inspired the film Inception, where we play as Desmond experiencing the memories of his ancestor Ezio as he experiences the memories of his ancestor Altair. These memories show us more of Altair's life, starting from before the events of the first game right up until his death at the age of 92. Which is amazing for someone living in 12th century Syria, especially considering the current day average lifespan in Merthyr Tydfil is about 60. We see that Altair has become arguably the most significant assassin in its history, and through these memories we get to see his lifelong journey to rebuild the Order and to make it what it is now. They also gave him a region-appropriate accent too, which is more fitting than his American accent from the original game. I very much enjoyed these sections, and I consider the final cutscene involving these to be one of the most memorable moments of the entire series. Due to the lack of side content on offer here, I found myself rolling credits on this game much quicker than the last two. It's longer than the first game, sure, but there are no hidden armor sets to unlock, no side stories to progress through, and no Da Vinci to give us new inventions. Due to most treasure boxes containing crafting equipment rather than money, I never found myself flush with cash like in Brotherhood, which meant I didn't get many opportunities to upgrade my armor or weapons. The crossbow returns with a restrictively high paywall, and as much as I enjoy this weapon, I do think this is the last time we see it in the series. There's nothing to really work towards in this game, other than leveling up assassins, though I never felt like I needed to. I never managed to purchase one complete set of new armor, and I think I treated myself to a new sword and dagger once. That said, I never felt like I needed it. I never felt that I was at a disadvantage. What we do get in spades here is First Civilization based exposition, with a final cutscene that very clearly states what's going on with all of this solar flare nonsense. A third precursor chap speaks to us, whose name we aren't given, and he repeats the message that Minerva gave in Assassin's Creed 2, though with some more details and clarity. Their race is now extinct, but they created humanity as a workforce. Humans rebelled and went to war, but the precursors knew that the solar flare was coming. They created the temples that we have been looking for as research facilities, each working on a different method of overcoming this upcoming catastrophe, and they were built underground so they could be used as shelters if they failed to find a solution. All of the data from this research was sent to one vault where Minerva, Juno, and this Viking-looking chap chose the best solutions and tested them. They didn't find one that worked, and we are treated to a cutscene of a human city being wiped out by geological disasters caused by the solar flare. Humans and precursors then worked together to rebuild society, but there were so few of the precursors left that they eventually died off. Beardy then shows us a location as it time-lapses through what I assume to be thousands of years as the Earth shifts around it. This seems to be the location of the vault that Minerva, Juno and himself worked before the disaster, and tells Desmond to find it, setting us up for the next game as Desmond wakes up in the back of a truck. which is just about all there is to say about Assassin's Creed Revelations. Oh wait, no, there are new kill animations which are gloriously over the top and flashy. I mention that because one of them, where Ezio breaks an enemy's neck over his shoulder, it was wince-inducing enough as it is, but that doesn't kill him, instead leaving them rolling around on the floor in what I imagine must be some of the worst agony that it's possible to experience. Except an evening with your mom, obviously. This game feels like it should have been an expansion pack, but instead got stretched out and had extra, unnecessary stuff thrown in just to bulk it out and justify selling it at full price. There is some DLC available for it, but these were not included in the Steam version I bought, and research suggests that they're not worth bothering with. There is some excellent content here for longtime fans of the series, but there's also a fair bit of forgettable stuff to get through too. Though I would like to quickly highlight the section where Ezio disguises himself as a minstrel and sings in Italian knowing that no one can understand him.
I sing in Italiano, you understand no word, but my Greek is non-existent and my Turkish is absurd. Cesare, oh Cesare, a man of great depravity, believed himself immortal till he had a date with gravity. Fair Lucrezia could not sate her appetite for lovers, but I suspect she would be fine with 2 or 3 more brothers. The things I do to save the world surprise me time to time, like learning how to play the lute and making these words rhyme. I am a tactless minstrel, I sing off key for coins. If you spot me in the street, please kick me in the loins.
I don't know how I managed to forget about that bit. Which finally leaves us with putting this on my lovely and professional graph I paid thousands of pounds to be made for me. Money well spent. I started this video off by saying I consider it the weaker of the Ezio Trilogy, with it being the return of the Jedi to Brotherhood's Empire Strikes Back, so it is definitely my least favourite game of the Ezio Trilogy. But then what about the original game? This is where nostalgia complicates things, as I have more fond memories of the original, but in terms of mechanics, graphics and overall polish, Revelations is clearly the superior game. I think this issue will likely come up in the next game too, so I feel the best question to ask is which of these 2 games would I rather play once per year every year for the rest of time? And for that, I'd have to say Revelations. Despite the amount of meh elements that this game has, it achieves that rare accomplishment of bringing a multi-game narrative to a satisfying conclusion. In fact, it does it twice for 2 beloved characters. So, with that potentially controversial decision made, it's on to Assassin's Creed 3, which general opinion would suggest means things are going to get worse before they get better. I guess we'll see about that, but I for one am looking forward to assembling deck chairs and selling them across the new world. Once again, I'm playing through the entire series over on Twitch, Monday to Thursday, 10 AM to 1 PM GMT, so please do pop in and tell me how shit my opinions are in real life if you're free. Or just use the comments here and I'll read through them while I'm watching something tedious on television.
Amen, Ezio. Only our methods differ. Do you not see that? Peace, stability, a world where men live without fear. People desire the truth, yes. But even when they have it, they refuse to look. How do we fight this kind of ignorance?
Liberty can be messy, Ahmed, but it is priceless.
Of course. And when things fall apart, and the lights of civilization dim, Ezio Auditore can stand above the darkness and say proudly, I stayed true to my creed. I will open that library, and I will find the Grand Temple. And with the power that is hidden there, I will destroy the superstitions that keep men divided.
Not in this life, Ahmed.